Welcome back to The Explainer. So, today we're taking a fascinating journey back in time to uncover a piece of history that honestly totally defies our modern expectations. When we hear the word telemedicine, we instantly picture smartphones, lightning fast internet connections, and slick 21st century software, right? Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Telemedicine is absolutely not a modern internet era invention. In fact, its roots go way, way farther back than you might ever guess, relying on technology that was anything but digital. Seriously, how did a piece of equipment designed for early entertainment, we're talking about a massive, heat-generating, incredibly bulky television camera from the 1940s, transform into a critical, life-saving medical tool? Today, we're going to see exactly how early broadcasting tech collided head-on with the bloody, high-stakes reality of the surgical operating room. To find the true birth of medical television, we actually have to rewind all the way to a pretty shocking year, 1939. Yep, 1939, that was the year the very first medical TV broadcast took place. A full black and white broadcasting system was hauled right into the Israel Zion Hospital in New York to transmit operative treatments. It was an incredibly early experiment, sure, but it successfully proved that television wasn't just for news and entertainment. It had the real-world power to broadcast human anatomy live and in real time. Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, the birth of medical television and those early black and white broadcasts. Let's kick off our timeline by looking at the pioneers who took those very first primitive black and white signals and turned them into a legit medium for medical distance learning. Back in 1931, scientists Vladimir Zworykin and Semyon Kataev independently patented the electronic television tech that would go on to dominate for decades. And Zworykin wasn't just some inventor, he actively pushed for TV to be used in healthcare. That foundational work led directly to that 1939 New York broadcast we just talked about. But the real breakthrough? That happened in May 1947 at Creighton University in Nebraska. This was the exact moment television officially became a working tool for medical distance learning. Just picture the absolute chaos of an early operating theater. You've got surgeons trying to perform these delicate procedures, all while a giant heavy camera from the local station WOW-TV is literally hovering right over the sterile field. And what's even more amazing is the guy who spearheaded this whole thing at Creighton. He wasn't a tech exec. He was actually a priest, a scientist, and a teacher named Roswell C. Williams. He saw the massive educational potential of bridging the gap between the operating table and the classroom. Now, merging the world of broadcasting with the intense world of surgery wasn't exactly seamless. Actually, my absolute favorite detail from the archives, because they brought in a professional civilian cameraman to operate that massive rig, hospital moderators were terrified he was going to pass out at the sight of blood and the, surgical manipulation. So they literally assigned a nurse to stand right next to him holding liquid ammonia and other anti-fainting tools, just to keep him conscious while he filmed. It perfectly highlights the massive culture clash taking place here. Which brings us to Section 2, broadcasting the blue baby. As amusing as those early days were, things were about to get incredibly serious. This clunky, faint-inducing technology suddenly became an absolute necessity for spreading revolutionary, life-saving surgical techniques. Back in 1944, a team at Johns Hopkins Hospital developed a surgical treatment for Fallots tetrad. This is a severe congenital heart disease in children, often resulting in what was known as blue baby syndrome because of a severe lack of oxygen in the blood. It was a devastating condition, and the new surgical method to treat it was honestly nothing short of a miracle. But they needed a way to teach this highly complex surgery to other doctors, and they needed to do it fast. And this brilliantly illustrates how they pulled it off. The medical minds behind this procedure, Surgeon Alfred Blalock, cardiologist Helen B. Taussig, and the head of the surgical lab, Vivian T. Thomas, turned to television. On February 27, 1947, Dr. Blalock performed this incredibly delicate pediatric heart surgery while being filmed by a closed-system TV camera. He demonstrated this life-saving showcase to several hundreds of doctors gathered at a surgeon's conference. That single broadcast resulted in the widespread recognition and rapid rollout of a procedure that went on to save countless children. Moving on to Section 3, the leap to color. But they ran into a major problem. While black and white television was groundbreaking for its time, it simply wasn't good enough to convey the intricate complexities of the human body. The limitations were severe. I mean, think about it. In black and white, a surgeon's hands, the instruments, the internal organs, they all just blend into this muddy spectrum of gray. It is incredibly hard to differentiate a vein from an artery or healthy tissue from diseased tissue. To truly teach surgery, doctors needed lifelike realism and high anatomical accuracy. They needed color. From a medical standpoint, this wasn't just some luxury tech upgrade, it was absolutely crucial for patient safety. Enter a physicist named Peter Carl Goldmark. He developed a stunning new color television technology in the 1940s, which was utilized in this gorgeous retro zenith television equipment. Goldmark actually pitched this to a major pharmaceutical company and a team of surgeons at the University of Pennsylvania. He used a medical dummy to demonstrate how perfectly the color captured anatomical detail. The technological possibilities were so mind-blowing that the university hospital immediately ordered a set of the equipment. Now, what's really interesting here is the massive milestone this led to. On May 31st, 1949, we saw the world's very first color broadcast of a surgical operation. A surgery was beamed from Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore directly to the lecture hall of the American Medical Association in Washington. For the very first time ever, viewing doctors could see the vibrant, realistic colors of human anatomy from miles away. And that leads us to Section 4. Telemedicine goes mainstream. With the advent of vivid color, the floodgates completely opened. This niche, kind of experimental technology exploded into a mainstream medical phenomenon practically overnight. Just a few months later, in December 1949, at the AMA conference in Atlantic City, they set up 12 of those beautiful Zenith units to broadcast live procedures. We're talking cesarean sections and osteoplasty and appendectomy. And the detail was intense. The color and definition were so incredibly visceral that, according to witnesses, even seasoned viewing doctors in the audience were passing out. Think about that. We've gone from needing ammonia for the civilian cameraman to needing it for the actual medical professionals watching the broadcast. The scale of that Atlantic City event was just absolutely staggering. 15,000 doctors, members of the American Medical Association, watched those surgeries simultaneously. I mean, think about the educational leverage here. Previously, maybe a dozen students could cram into an operating theater gallery. Now, 15,000 medical professionals were learning cutting-edge techniques at the exact same time. It's like a giant puzzle finally snapping together. And the growth curve didn't stop there. Driven by enthusiastic pioneers like Dr. Kendall Elsom, this technology was taken on the road. In just 2.5 years following those initial experiments, they hosted 28 sessions across the United States and Europe. The total number of participants skyrocketed to over 200,000. Let me repeat that. 200,000 doctors upgrading their surgical skills entirely thanks to the power of a television broadcast. So, what does this all mean? We've traveled from grainy, black and white cameras hovering precariously over an operating table to massive, continent-spanning networks of color surgical education. It proves that innovation isn't just about the technology itself, but how brilliantly we adapt it to solve our most critical human challenges. Which leaves us with this final thought. From those 1940s color tubes to today's instantaneous digital streams, what will the next massive leap in visual medical technology look like, and how many lives will it ultimately save? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the history behind the tools we take for granted.